Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is the very first video back in 3 years since I stopped YouTubing 3 years ago. In this video, I want to share a little bit about the new direction of this channel and actually reintroduce myself now, because who I am now is at a very different place than where I was at least 3 years ago since I finished YouTubing, and certainly throughout the time of the years that I was YouTubing. This channel, would you believe, has actually been around for 9 years, and there has been a lot of growth in the last 9 years. And in this quick video, I want to share with you about who I am now. I would love to reintroduce myself and reintroduce also the level to which we're actually going to be talking at in this channel, because it is a very different level. It is a very different conversation, but actually it's an evolution forward, I would say, of the conversation that we've been having in here in years gone by. It's a big kind of step forward. And I also want to probably just take a little bit of a trip down memory lane and actually reflect on where things have been up until now. And I want to share a couple of key pieces that sort of stand out to me over that journey. So if you are new here, or if you've come here from my socials or wherever, subscribe. Goodness me, I haven't said that in a very long time. Subscribe, hit the notification bell below. It is a new day, my friends. And here's why to subscribe. Basically, this channel is now all about having extraordinary boundaries as a business owner, entrepreneur, service provider, and actually in your life. And why do we care about boundaries? Well, if you want your time back, if you want more time, if you want to increase your energy and not feel drained, if your headspace at times feels quite full and like you've got lots of sort of things pulling at you, you're going to want to get subscribed and pay attention to the videos that are coming out moving forward, because this channel is dedicated to helping support you in that. In fact, this has been the journey that I've been on for the last couple of years in terms of really getting serious around boundaries at a business level. And I've been studying boundaries now, boundaries, people pleasing, and all of this, and really sort of untangling some very old behaviors that I was growing up with, like many people. And my study in this area has been almost now 2 decades. I've studied people pleasing to a huge amount of depth. In fact, many of the videos over the last few years, over the years in YouTube here, have been all about people pleasing. So much of my content has been about boundaries because I've been studying it for so long. I've studied codependency. I've studied manipulation in terms of having us be immune to other people's manipulative under the surface tactics. I've studied this stuff for so long, up to 2 decades, almost 2 decades, because why? I needed to. I had some really tangly stuff, like I see so many people do, around just like people pleasing and overgiving and a bit of rescue behavior here, a bit of like superwoman sort of, hey, I'll do it for you. And because I see that that is actually so freaking normalized in our society, it took some real work to undo it. And, you know, in that process of undoing and kind of unwinding a lot of old behaviors that I'd learnt over the decades, what would come up time and time again was actually a lot of guilt. Like when I pulled back from going hands off with something with someone that actually they could do themselves, and I realized the pattern that I was playing out of, and I'd pull back and go hands off, man, the guilt that would come up. So this is a really highly important topic, and something that I'm now doubling down on moving forward, because I haven't seen a channel out there that focuses really solidly on having extraordinarily high standards and boundaries in the way that I'm seeing it through this particular lens, that it could be taught and shared about and elevated in a really freaking beautiful way. And so hence why I thought, you know what, I've been studying this stuff for so long, I've been working through this myself at higher and higher and higher levels, or deeper and deeper layers, particularly in business around the last few years. I run multiple companies, and the way in which I can run multiple companies is because I have such great boundaries in the way in which I'm operating in there, whether it's with clients, with contractors, with my team, between my husband and I. Like, the only way we can do that is by having such great boundaries. So in doing all of that and sort of having so many lessons myself, some of which weren't very pretty and were challenging in themselves, I thought, you know what, it's actually time to share more about this, because I think this stuff is so powerful and it impacts so much. The more we can elevate our standards, the cleaner we can get with our side of the fence, the more it impacts the things that actually truly matter to us, the more we can be freed up to make the moves that will actually move the business forward, that will impact our bottom line, and it will actually have us feeling good along that journey, as well as increasing our relationships with our kids and our families. I'm a mum as well. And we need to have all of us here at the table to be able to parent in the way that we really want to be able to have the kind of marriage that we want to, a relationship that we want to. And if we are just leaking and wasting and frittering away our time and our energy and our mental capacity because there's so much of these background leaks that haven't been attended to, far out, we're just missing out on so much that's in front of us. We're missing out on our kids, we're missing out on our partner, we're missing out on money that could be made. We're missing out on really experiencing ourselves at our fullest capacity. So if you haven't already, get subscribed, because the videos moving forward, I'm really, really, really looking forward to sharing with you, and I genuinely feel they're going to make a huge difference. So let's do a little trip down memory lane. So I have been, I guess, throughout this YouTubing period up until finishing up 3 years ago, I was creating quite high production videos. I was definitely focused on sort of like self-love, people-pleasing, boundaries, forgiveness, some of the body stuff there. Like, there was all sorts of different kinds of conversations that I just genuinely feel like I've now I can appreciate them, I get them, but I'm not there at this point in my life at the age of 41 still speaking to those conversations. And so the other day I was actually reflecting and sort of reviewing a lot of the videos here, and I was like, oh, go you, baby Kate, putting those videos out. So that's where a lot of the videos have been. Also really high production stuff, which that was a little piece about why I guess I burnt out a little bit with YouTube, is because I did do such high production content that it wasn't 100% sustainable with the kind of life that I was living and being a mum and the way in which I want to live my life. Whereas nowadays, owning actually and running multiple companies, as well as being a business mentor, as well as having investments, as well as being a mum, as well as having actually a full and rich life, which honestly, I actually didn't have back then. I seriously didn't actually have what I would call a full and rich life back then. I worked my ass off. I was purely just focused on work. I was often very exhausted. And I think if you even saw in some of the videos, like there was almost like a little bit of a heavy energy to me because, and look, you know, full credit, full acknowledgement to where I was at that time, but there was so much that I kind of felt that was on my shoulders, but my focus was at a certain level that this stuff was kind of just churning through, and I was on a hamster wheel of high production, feeling exhausted, pushing myself through things. And that was what brought me to the end of, actually, I no longer wanted to YouTube. Now, coming back 3 years later, I have a very different place that I'm standing with this. I have a different place that I'm standing within myself. These days, I actually value feeling good. I value being at my fullest capacity. And I genuinely couldn't say that that's where I was in the years gone by of YouTubing. valued back then pushing stuff out at a high capacity and at that level, but I truly didn't value me, myself, Kate as a woman being at her fullest capacity. Nowadays, this is central. This is the core piece that I focus on a daily basis, to be at my fullest capacity. And out of that is actually where the whole new level of boundaries conversation actually comes from, because we respect ourselves. We respect our needs. We actually really care to get to know and pay attention to what our needs actually are. We value operating at a high level. And then therefore we look at the areas and we pay attention to the things that have us not operating at a high level. And this is where these conversations are going to come from. So that's a little bit of a trip down memory lane. In the last 3 years since finishing YouTube, my focus has been on doing, well, a lot of stuff, but if I was to pick out a couple of highlights, parenting, of course, raising Bailey and Zion. Bailey's now growing up and she's like left the nest and running her own business, which, by the way, we have so many great conversations for her around boundaries in business. And at the age of 20, I think she's pretty damn exceptional with her boundaries in her business, and really like focusing on clarifying her scope of service and all of those things that make such a difference. And also I've been running big leadership events. She Live event was such a highlight, where we produced, when I say we, Henare and I, we produced Australasia's largest women's leadership and empowerment event. Imagine this, 3 days, 304 women in a room with celebrity guest speakers, and an environment where literally what's reflected back to you is how freaking exceptional you already are. What's reflected back to you is that your gifts are actually needed and special, and that like you're meant to be here, and you're meant to be here as you actually are. And then you leave the 3 days just feeling like, I guess, superwoman, but also really valuing and appreciating where your life currently is at. And that was actually, just a little side note, one of the things that Henare and I were really wanting to put into the big events that we create. I think we've done a good job. I think we've done a good job of it, is we wanted people to leave our events not on this motivational high, but then go back into their life and look at their partner and look at their life and go like, oh, this is a letdown, and I wish it wasn't like this, because I think that can actually be counterproductive for people. We wanted people to go back into their life with the sense of, man, I've got some gifts to share with the world, and look at the opportunity that's right in front of me, and I appreciate the people in my life, and I am so appreciative of this season that I'm at in my life. I see the season that I'm in, I appreciate it, and I also see my ability to cause change. Yeah. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing in the last 3 years, and I've loved it. Plus, also, I've launched a number of companies. So I've got, just in a nutshell, a drinks company that I'm building out. We're developing the drink from scratch. A clothing company that's being built out, which is, there's so much to share about with that. An investment company, the coaching company. I'm a business mentor. What else? Oh, and an export company from here in Bali. So that's what I've been really focusing on in the last 3 years, and growing. So yeah, I'm excited to be back, and I hope that if you've come this far in the video that you're looking forward to the journey ahead as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you get subscribed. There's going to be a new video every single week that's going to be all about having you elevating your standards, deeply respecting yourself, respecting your needs, getting to know your needs, and really operating at a new level in business, entrepreneurship, all the services that you provide. And we'll be covering a range of topics, all sorts of things, and my intention is that this will make an impactful difference in your life. So thank you for being here. Feel free to drop me a comment below. Again, that's a thing that I haven't said in such a freaking long time. But yeah, I would love to actually hear from you below in the comments about anything that you'd like to share in this new video and the new reflection. I'm reading all the comments and replying, and yeah, I really look forward to this new journey. I'll see you in the next video.